You're on.
Welcome to my project. I have a 64 Corvair convertible, and the reason I'm starting with this is I like Corvairs. Corvairs came out in the early 60s as an economy car, aimed for that market, but they had, from the factory, a flat six in the back, same as a Porsche, a six-cylinder boxer motor more or less, and they were considered sporty. They handled well. They people raced them against Porsches and beat them, and so it's got a little bit of racing history, and it's just, I don't know, I like the looks. It's a funky little car. Some of the drawbacks with it was 110 horsepower, and it came with a 2-speed power glide transmission, which just isn't acceptable to me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in 3.8 liter L67 GM V6. These came in Grand Prix GTPs, Buick Regal GSs, Monte Carlo SSs, and a few other cars that were pretty sporty and pretty fast. It comes with an Eaton supercharger on it. You might recognize if you look at the front of a dragster, you know, you got your belt-driven superchargers, and of course the dragster has little butterflies here. This air intake is in the back, but it's kind of like a similar, you know, setup. And what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to put it in the back where the back seat used to be. That's why we have the big void here. Yeah, this motor's going to sit back here, and the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to use an engine cradle from 88 Pontiac Fiero. Why did I choose that? The Fieros were always fun little good handling cars, but because of budget constraints, they used a lot of parts from Chevettes and Citations and just a lot of cheap junky General Motors cars. Well, what General Motors did for the 88 model year, they said, okay, we're making money on this car, we're doing all right, let's do the car right. So they updated the suspension. The 88s had very good suspension. General Motors did own part of Lotus in the 60s. It's rumored that Lotus might have had their fingers in the engineering. I've also heard McLaren. I'm not sure what they would have to do with it, but that's what I heard. So I'm taking this little Econo box, more than doubling the horsepower, putting good suspension under it, and drive it on the street a little bit, and I'm going to race it, because I race autocross. Why do I want to race this? Because I want something different. For one, I could continue racing my Civic Si. There's a lot out there, and it's a good race car. I could do a Honda S2000, FRZs, BRZs. There's a lot of things I could race, but I want to be a little bit different, nostalgic, and that's why I'm building what I'm building. A little bit about what you're looking at here. I have, in here you can see everything's cut out. I cut out a whole lot of structure out of this car. All this structure gives this thing torsional rigidity, which more or less means that when you go around the corner, the car doesn't twist. Well, I cut all that out, so I need to add a lot in. Also, I need to cut it out just because, I mean, the motor sits there. Need room for the motor. So what I have in here, what you're looking at, is this is a Fiero subframe, or engine cradle. And that's going to be carrying the V6. And I have besides being the subframe, I have a mock-up of the McPherson struts. So I can build, all this was patterned from this Fiero. I welded up this as a jig from the Fiero so I could transfer all my measurements over to the Corvair and have everything in the exact right place as GM designed the Fiero to be. What I have is, probably hard to see, but there's pipes in here. These mimic the Fiero McPherson struts. And once I have this in place, this is just to help me get my strut towers in the exact position that they need to be. And then I'm gonna, strut tower, box it in, put some X bracing and a roll bar in here to bring back the structural integrity that GM originally designed, and for it to be a good, rigid, good handling race car. I think that's enough.